We're starting a new series today called I'm Asking for a Friend. And we all have questions about faith, about why we suffer, what is our purpose, why God feels silent when we need Him the most. Often we're afraid to ask these questions out loud because of what people might think, or we think everybody has it figured out. So on Sunday we just hide behind a smile or a quick handshake. And we move on to our week and we go to bed at night and we walk away from our wives and we have this moment where sometimes inside of us, we've got questions that we don't want to ask. You've all been there, right? Where you say, I'm asking for a friend. Or, hey, I know this one person. Now their marriage, in their marriage, man, he just never, ever gives her time to talk. And I just don't know what to do about it. I don't know how to help them. But meantime, it's you. So today I feel like one of the pressing questions that we're going to speak about in the area of asking for a friend is why or what do I do when I feel like giving up? What do I do when I feel like giving up? Maybe you've asked this question late at night, or you've had a conversation that someone doesn't know about and you've asked yourself, do I need to quit right now? Perhaps you've sat in that space where you feel like quitting on something you once believed in. Maybe you've wondered, is it worth going on? Maybe you felt like throwing in the towel. It could have been your marriage where you're just like, I've tried and it just doesn't seem to work out. So maybe I should, or you can use the word quit. So when I do the random pause, give up or quit. Those are two words. That's A for you. If you said anything else, fail, okay? Maybe you know that this is where you should be in life and you just haven't achieved that yet. And so now, because you aren't where you thought you would be at 40 years old or at 50 years old, you think maybe I should just throw in the towel and I should or give up. That's two words you're allowed to use. Maybe it's on a ministry you felt God calling you to, and to this day you just never have been there. You've never been approached to have that ministry, and so you thought maybe I should just. Maybe you're in a season of your life where you're going like, I can't throw my kids away. But I've been praying and I've been praying and I've been praying and I've been praying for my son or my daughter to be saved. And at this day, they're still not saved and they haven't come back to Jesus. So maybe I should just, that's probably the best to say there than quit. Maybe I should just give up. Maybe you've had an addiction. And you've been trying and you've been trying and you've been trying. You've been to rehabilitation. You've spoken to the elders of the church. You've been prayed for. You've gone 31 days without it. Not just 21 days, 31 days without that addiction. But sometimes you keep falling back. And because you keep falling back, your thinking is, I should just quit. You've done everything you can to hang in there in life. But life just keeps clapping you. And now you feel like I should. Today in part one of our series, Asking for a Friend, we're going to tackle this. What do I do when I feel like giving up? The underlying question is, why do I feel like quitting? And maybe you're in the best space in your life you've ever been, but every one of us are going to get to a place where at some point we go, is this worth carrying on? Do I still want to do this? And the good news is you're not alone, number one. The best news is God doesn't leave you there. He's not discouraged by your discouragement. In fact, He's going to meet you in your discouragement. So why do I feel like giving up? Why do I want to quit? Why do I live in this space? Number one, sometimes the walls are God's way of building our faith. Sometimes the walls are God's ways of building our faith. Let's go to Joshua chapter 6, and if you've been a Christian for a long time, you know that this is the story where the walls of Jericho happens. Sometimes the walls are God's way of building our faith, where the people of Israel in Joshua chapter 6 are finally on the edge of a promise. Finally, we're here. The promise is right there. And after 40 years of wandering in the wilderness because they disobeyed God's instructions, they're standing before Jericho, a city not very big in size. Everybody say not big in size. It wasn't a very big city, but it was massively fortified. The walls weren't just physically intimidating, they were spiritually and emotionally exhausting. Have you ever felt that? That you're so close to the breakthrough? You're so close to the promise, but the wall in front of you makes that dream seem so unattainable, impossible. I mean, our perspective as mere human beings is limited. Again, Jericho is not a very big city. You could probably have marched around the city in less than an hour. Imagine that. We're walking around and say it's not a big city. So the problem wasn't that the city was big, it was that the walls were too high. And if you can imagine the Israelites in this space, we're so close to the promise. We're so close. It's just on the other side, but the walls are too high. Maybe some of you can relate this morning. There's some of you who know what you want. You have vision for your life. You've got a dream. You've got vision. You've got a place you'd like to be. You know what you want to have. But all you can see in your life currently is walls, obstacles, and problems. And I know this is where I want to be. In fact, God, I believe you put me here. I believe this is the path you put me on. But these walls are just too high. These walls are keeping me from the promise. And in Joshua 6 verse 1 to 2, this is what it says. Now Jericho was shut up inside and outside because of the people of Israel. None went out and none came in. And the Lord said to Joshua, see, I have given Jericho into your hand with its king and mighty men of valor. Did you catch that? God speaks about something he's given them when that something hasn't been given yet. That just messes with my brain, that English line right there. He's like, I've given it to you, no, but there's still walls. He promised this. He told Joshua, hey, this has been given to you. The king, the mighty men of valor in there, this whole city has been given to you, but the walls are still standing. See, God has promised us so many things in the Bible, but the walls are still standing. It's a done deal to God, but the walls are still standing. So why do we feel like quitting? Because what we see doesn't match what God said. Often we feel like quitting because what we see doesn't match what God said. He'll turn for good for those who love him. And yet nothing's being turned for good in my life right now. What we see doesn't match what God said, and therefore we feel like, thank you for the three of you listening. Craig Rochelle says this. By the way, this is where trust comes in. When you feel like giving up, when what you see doesn't match what God said, this is where trust comes in. And Craig Rochelle says this. Faith is trusting God when you don't understand or see how things will work out. I don't understand what's happening. I can't see the end result, but I will trust. But I put my faith in him. There's this whole theme today. I don't know if you sensed it from when Alex spoke. From the beginning, there's a sense of trusting God, giving him control again, making sure that he's in control of your life, of your marriage, of your family, putting your trust in God. The Israelites are commanded to walk around the city once a day for 6 days in silence. Your ladies. I'm so glad it's cold and no one's wearing pluckies today. On the seventh day, they're to walk 7 times, and then when they're told to shout, they need to shout. And that's the moment when the walls fell. But here's the thing, Joshua never told them how many laps they were doing. God told Joshua, and he told them, we're going to walk and you guys are going to keep quiet. Don't say a word. They didn't know that they were on lap 1 or lap 6. They just woke up every day, ready to do what Joshua said they need to do. And that's where many of us want to quit, because we don't know if we're on lap 6 or lap 1. we actually sometimes don't know where we are. We're just like, okay, we're doing it again. Here we go. Church on Sunday. Again, we're going. Okay, cool, fantastic. Sometimes I want to feel like quitting on church too. We don't know where we're at. When God told Joshua that Jericho was already theirs, even while the walls were standing, it wasn't a motivational phrase. Just like this preach is not a motivational preach. This is a declaration of divine victory. This was a declaration of divine victory. I mean, he could have roared that crowd up and come on, motivational. God said it's ours. Everybody said, yeah, amen. Come on, yeah. And then it doesn't happen. And then what's that called? God is lying. God is lying. No. This was a declaration of divinity. God's plan didn't involve battering rams or human genius. It involved silence. It involved trust. It involved steps of faith. And that's why David Guzik, who's actually a commentator, he said it was a plan for victory whereby it would clearly be the work of the Lord. Because all of this couldn't happen by the army's strength. It happened by the work of the Lord. That's the heart behind this passage, that God gets the glory when we obey beyond our understanding. So your life right now might not look where it has to be or where you want it to be, but when that breakthrough comes, it's not going to be because how cool you are or how good you are. It's going to be because you had perseverance, and then God gets the glory. The miracle is about God, not us. Don't take credit for His work. I mean, we can endure a long process if we see progress, but when we're walking in circles and nothing's changing, we lose heart. Some of us are on lap 6 and we're ready to quit because the wall hasn't come down. Galatians 6 verse 9 says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if..." Okay, we're going to be interactive today. Have you seen those next Netflix series? You can choose which part you want to know. You're going to preach with me today. We will reap a harvest if we do not give up. So why do we feel like quitting? Because we mistake silence for absence. Just because it's quiet doesn't mean God's not busy. God is working. Why do we feel like quitting? Because we mistake silence for absence. Silence is often the loudest place of transformation. When God has been quiet in my life and I'm like, "God, where are you?" Guess what? Number 1, I'm crying out. Number 2, He's working. And I've seen His power way more in the silent moments than when God is more obvious. It's a beautiful thing in this Christian journey. When you call yourself a disciple of Jesus and you're willing to put your trust in Him, even if you're walking in circles and it's still quiet. He does something in us before He does something for us or through us. As Christine Kane said, just because you're in a dark place doesn't mean you're buried. You may have been planted. Just because you're in a dark place doesn't mean you're buried. Some of you right now are feeling so buried underneath all the things of life. No, maybe God has planted you and there's a season where you're going to grow and you're going to flourish, but the season you're in right now is God's working you in the ground. There's stuff happening inside of you so that you can flourish and grow. Point 2 today, we quit because we don't see the progress, but God sees the process. We quit because we don't see the progress, but God sees the process. Let's be honest, progress is encouraging. You go to the gym and you start seeing a change in you physically, that's quite encouraging. But when you go for walks every day and you see no change, other than your marriage being strengthened because you're speaking a lot, but physically, actually my pants are feeling a lot looser now that I think of it. So maybe it's working. But when we see progress, we get encouraged. Something happens when we're encouraged. When we wake up early in the mornings for our kids and they thrive, it kind of makes it okay. My kids are clever, they're thriving, they're passing. Waking up early is then a no-brainer. For the team to wake up early on a Sunday morning to pray for our services, we've seen a shift in how the services feel. It makes it worth it. It's beautiful when we press on in our jobs, when we know that we're having an impact. You'll wake up for work because you're seeing progress, but sometimes we obey God, we do all the right things, and nothing seems to happen. And many of us quit then. Quit on God, blame God, run to the things we used to run to. That's how the Israelites felt. They were walking in obedience, literally walking. But not a single stone moved until the last lap of the 7th day, after 40 years in the wilderness. Joshua 6 verse 10 to 14, Joshua had commanded the army, "Do not give a war cry. Do not raise your voices. Do not say a word until the day I tell you to shout." So he had the ark of the Lord carried around the city. On the 2nd day, they marched around the city once and returned to the camp. They did this for 6 days. I'm asking for a friend, why do we feel like quitting? Why do we feel like quitting? Because perhaps we're declaring the wrong things. Why do we feel like quitting? Because perhaps we're declaring the wrong things. They weren't allowed to say a word, and I heard it spoken in a sermon recently. Perhaps it was because the words that would have come out of their mouths weren't going to be good. Can you imagine for a moment? Let me paint the picture for you. Not a word. Not a word. Now, if I was them, keeping quiet, Mark, walk with me. Some place we're going to have to walk behind me, but let's just go through here so you can walk beside me. There we go. Not a word, eh? Now, if this was me or the Israelites then, my solution here would have been like, what on earth are we doing? We wake up and he tells us to walk. I mean, we are armed soldiers. We are ready for battle. We're ready for war cry. We're ready to take some ground. We're ready to kill some people. And now we have to keep quiet and walk. Like you go first, seriously. We're just walking. Like, why are we wasting our time on this? Does God really have a plan for my life? Is this really what he's called us to do? Oh my goodness, no, don't sit down, walk with me. Well, let's just go down. Yeah, it's very long that way, right? But can you imagine doing this 6 times in a row? Where they're walking around and they have to be in silence because maybe their declarations wouldn't have been things of power. Maybe their declarations would have been, I think we should. We've done this 4 days in a row now. I think we're wasting our time being part of this army. Maybe we should join the other guys. Like, this is a waste of my life, a waste of my time. Mark, you can go sit down because I'm going straight up on stage. But can you imagine the declaration in that moment? Sometimes we quit because our declarations aren't right. Sometimes we're giving up because we're speaking that over our lives. Oh, I wake up I'm so tired today. Oh, it's going to be a bad day because it's so cold. No one likes the cold except for Michael. Oh, our declarations matter so much. Maybe we should wake up going, thank you, God, for a new day. Thank you that your mercies are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Even when I don't feel it or see it, God, I believe you are faithful. God, even when I'm weak inside, I believe you can do something. Often we quit because of our declarations. So we can't prove it biblically, but maybe they were told to shut up because if they spoke, they would have quit. So sometimes you might need to tell yourself to shut up. Keep quiet. John, your voice is way too loud right now. Now, don't tell your partner to shut up. That, my friend, will get you into trouble. Asking for a friend, that's a whole nother topic. Our declarations are powerful. And so in Psalm 27, 13 to 14, we actually see a declaration of David, and he says this, I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord. Be strong, take heart, and wait for the Lord. Can you remind your soul what God has said? That I will see the goodness of God in my life. That I will take heart. I will stay strong. I will remain faithful to God. I will remain loyal in my marriage. I will remain faithful to my kids. I will, because I am not going to give up. Why do we quit? Because of our declarations. You have to remind your soul what God has said. Not what your feelings are screaming, young people specifically. Man, your feelings are loud, young people. There's like 4 years, so I'm going to talk. Second service, this is going to be fun. But all of us, we always say, the young people are just all up in their feels. Older people, so are you. We so often get led by what we feel. But we need to go back to what God has said, not what we feel. Not what your fears are whispering. Oh, you're not good enough. Oh, look, you're going to work again, but you suck at your job. It's fears that every time, when in fact you could be making an impact in your workplace, but you're believing the fears and you feel like quitting. Remember what God has said. Can you imagine being one of these soldiers? Oh my goodness, I'm frustrated on their behalf. No evidence of progress, no sign of victory, and yet, we walk again. One of the hardest moments in your journey is when God's instructions don't make sense. One of the hardest moments of your Christian journey is every time you face this thing where God says, do this, and you're like, that doesn't make sense. If you look at the heroes of faith in the Bible, in Hebrews chapter 11, every one of them followed instructions that probably didn't make sense. And that's why they're called heroes of faith. Imagine being a warrior in Joshua's army, ready to fight. No progress, no battle cry, just keep marching. I'm not going to sing the song. Again, Guzik writes this. This was a test of the faith, patience, and endurance of the people of Israel. When you're in a season where it feels quiet, when you're in a season where you're like asking for a friend, I feel like quitting, maybe you need to remind yourself that this could be a season of testing my faith. This could be a season of patience. We hate patience so much. This could be a season of endurance and perseverance. Because when you persevere, God does some things. It's the swear word of the Bible. Persevere. So I'm asking for a friend, why do we feel like quitting? Because we don't always see that God is up to something. In silence and repetition, God is up to something. He's building something deeper. Not an immediate results like McDonald's. That's why we probably treat God like that. The other day we were at McDonald's, it took like 12 minutes. That was way too long. Way too long. Go to KFC in Noordjewel, I promise you'll get your meal in 2 minutes. That's awesome. And now we treat God like this. But how can He make something significant? How can He make something worth anything deep? I mean, He did the whole creation in 7 days. McDonald's, try that. But He's got work to do in your life. He's got work to do in your marriage. He's got work to do in your family. So hang in there. Don't give up. John Piper said this. Occasionally, not every day, occasionally, weep deeply over the life you hoped would be. Grieve the losses. Then wash your face, trust God, and move on. We're not being insensitive by saying, hey, sometimes you can just weep your eyes out. Sometimes you can realize that I'm not where I want to be in life. Yes, you can have a down day, you can have a downer, and you're going, oh my goodness, I just feel like quitting. Cool, be in that space. But then after that, wash your face, trust God, and move on. Because we all hit walls at some point in our lives. We all have emotional walls, mental walls, relational walls. And if we quit there, we never know that the next lap might just be our breakthrough. Point 3, God does His best work when you're weak, not when you're winning. God does His best work when you're weak, not when you're winning. You might feel too tired to go on, spiritually dry, emotionally drained, mentally fogged. You think you need to be stronger. But what if all you need is more surrender? I'm asking for a friend, why do we feel like quitting? Perhaps because we're not surrendered enough. Perhaps because we're not surrendered enough. We feel like quitting because we're not surrendered enough. My Bible tells me in 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9, He said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. Therefore, I will boast about my weaknesses. O Jena, did we just ask the church in Krugersdorp to boast about their weaknesses? Like, when last have you tried to outshine someone because of how weak you are? Yeah, my marriage is really sucking. Oh, no, dude, my marriage is even worse than your marriage. Like, you cannot understand. We don't do that. We hide. We put a face on that we're strong. But Jared's saying, boast in your weaknesses. Why? Because His power is made perfect in weakness. God isn't impressed by your strength, muscle man and woman. God is impressed and moved by your surrender. By a heart that's willing to say, God, I feel like quitting. I feel like giving up. This wall is just too much for me. It's been too high for too long. But God, I surrender. I lay it down at your feet. Some of us are looking for strength to win when God is actually saying, hey, just come with humility to walk. Instead of looking for strength to win, come with humility to walk. I heard a story in two preachers actually in the last week, so I thought I'd use it. Florence Chadwick, a woman, a long-distance swimmer. She attempted a 42-kilometer swim from Catalina Island to California coast. That's crazy. 42 kilometer. After 15 hours in freezing water, 15 hours of swimming, a thick fog began to settle in. And as she's swimming, you know what happens when fog comes in, right? Ever drive on that pass all the way to Durban? You can't see a thing. And the fog starts setting in, and she starts seeing the shore less and less and less. She gave up not because she was physically tired or done. She began to doubt her ability. As she was swimming, she swam for another hour. After an hour, the fog was so thick she couldn't see anymore, and she asked him to pull her up into the boat. When she got onto the boat, she sat into the boat. She was telling her mother, I'm tired. I was doubting my ability. And then in that moment, she got told, you are 1.6 kilometers from the other side. But because the fog set in, she gave up because she couldn't see the shoreline anymore. This is what she told her mom. I think if I could have seen the shore, I would have made it. Maybe that's you right now. You're not failing. You just can't see the finish line. Your marriage isn't like on rock's end. It's just, you just can't see. Fog has set in. Us outside are rooting for you, and you want to give up because you're in it. The fog's too much. The people on the boat probably knew if she just keeps going. If she keeps going. You're not failing. You're just not seeing the finish line. You're not losing. You're just discouraged by the fog. That's why Romans 12:11-12 tells us, don't burn out. Keep yourselves fueled and aflame. Be alert servants of the Master. Don't quit in hard times. Pray all the harder. There's something deeply spiritual about not quitting, about not giving up. Every time you keep going, you're saying, God, I believe that you're in control and that you still can. And so there's something beautiful and deeply spiritual about not quitting. 2 months later, Florence attempts it again. 2 months, I'm like, that's a quick recovery. She attempts it again. This time, the fog sets in again. But she doesn't quit. Because she said that she kept a mental image of the shoreline. So she didn't give up. Even when the fog set in, she kept swimming and kept swimming because visually she looked at the shoreline. And she passed. And she did it. She was the first woman to do this. 42-kilometer swim. It's an amazing story. Maybe, just maybe, when you're seeing the fog set in your life, maybe you need to keep an image of God's promises. Saying, I feel like quitting. Man, I'm tired. I've been swimming for a long time. When the fog sets in, maybe you just need a visual image of God's promises for your life, for your marriage, for your family, for your children who are yet to come to Jesus, for that friend that still needs to come to Jesus. You're just keeping God's promises in the front of your mind. So practically, what do we do when we feel like quitting up? Quitting up, giving up and quitting. Quitting up. I'm asking for a friend. Talk to yourself with truth, not fear. As David said in Psalm 27, I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord. Talk to yourself with truth, not fear. Pick up your towel. What do we do practically when we feel like giving up? Pick up your towel. Don't throw it in. Pick up the towel. Use it to wipe your face. Wash someone's feet. Wipe someone else's tears. Because every time I felt like giving up and I serve other people, something changes in me. So wipe your face. Some of us have been working hard. There's sweat and we want to give up. Take your towel. Don't throw it in. Wipe your face. Wash someone's feet. Wipe someone else's tears. Some of you in the room, you need to finish what you started. Don't give up. Just finish what you started. You started your marriage 20 years ago. Finish what you started. You started a new business. Ask God for creativity. Give me new creativity. If it's starting another business, whatever it is, God, I want to finish what I've started. 2 Corinthians 8 actually encourages us to finish what we started. Finish what you started. Remember, maybe some of you need to remember, just because you can quit doesn't mean you should. Just because you can quit doesn't mean you should. The Bible says that everything's permissible, but not everything's beneficial. Just because you can quit doesn't mean you should. Stand on the truth of Isaiah 41 verse 10. Do not fear, for I am with you. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And most of all, remember 2 Timothy 4 verse 7. I fought the good fight. I finished the race. I kept the faith. Maybe that's all you need to tell yourself is, I'm going to finish this. I'm going to fight the good fight. I'm going to keep the faith. So in conclusion, as I call Isaac up, I stole this from Pastor Stephen Furtick, just so you know. Don't quit on 6. Don't quit on 6. You may feel like quitting. That doesn't mean you should. Don't quit on 6. Don't quit on 6. There's silence in the 6th lap. Don't quit on 6. Because lap 7 is coming. And something could happen. The walls will fall. And when they do, it won't be because of how awesome we were, or how strong you were, or how smart you were, but because you trusted and you persevered. Don't quit on 6. Angela Duckworth, an American psychologist, said, enthusiasm is common, endurance is rare. Enthusiasm is common, endurance is rare. She also said in her book called Grit, grit is a combination of passion and perseverance. So maybe the encouragement for you today is, hey, go back to a place where you trust God, where you know that He is in control, that you know that whatever you've been praying for, believing for, living for, that He can do what He will do. You just keep believing. You just keep trusting. But at the same time, have some passion again, because grit is passion. It's being excited about life. It's being excited about your family. It's being excited about your workplace. It's being full of, actually, it's not excitement. Passion is so much more than that. It's something that fuels us from deep within. Have a burning passion, but also have perseverance. Don't give up, because God honors those who persevere. If you're not dead, then God's not done. Don't throw in the towel. Wipe your face, get ready for another lap. I think we should all walk around the chairs. Wipe your face and get ready for another lap. Even if that lap looks like this. God, I'm still walking around the same issue. It's the same mountain, the same obstacle, the same walls, the same problems. Man, it's just too much. And I'm going to wipe away the sweat. I'm going to wipe away the tears. And God, I'm going to keep walking. My finances are still not getting better, even though I'm being so intentional. Because I know, God, that nothing happens by accident. Nothing. If I accidentally do things, it's not going to change it. God, I need to be intentional. And so I'm being intentional. I'm being intentional in my marriage. I'm being intentional with my family. I'm being intentional with my finances. I'm being intentional with my spiritual growth. I'm being intentional with how I steward the business you gave me. I'm being so intentional. I'm trusting you. I'm believing in you, God. And yet you're still quiet, but I'm going to keep walking. Even if I get dizzy after a while. I'm going to keep walking because I'm not going to quit on lap 6 when I know that the 7th lap might change everything. So let us not allow ourselves to get fatigued in doing good. As Galatians 6 says, at the right time, we will harvest a good crop if we don't give up, if we don't quit.